right, let's talk management, folks, because we have ourselves some insider trading conversations that took place yesterday on TSN Broadcasting here in Canada. They dove into the Toronto Maple Leafs, the New Jersey Devils, Canucks, Kraken, and Detroit. It's all going to be available on this link in the description. Now, this is a full-on video page that they linked to over here, and I don't think you can actually see it. Yeah, it's playing on my screen. You can see the thumbnails over here on the timeline, but it's blacked out because Streamlabs doesn't allow that to be put onto their programming. It's pretty cool. But for the Canucks and the Red Wings faithful tuning into this video, I wanted to dive into some of these brand new notes in regards to Canucks management, coaching decisions, and how these are still undetermined, as well as the unlikeliness of a management change in Detroit. To help us out, let's go into Canucks News Summary's summary of the matter. Big shout out, of course, to Canucks News Summaries. They do some amazing work. They have been doing this crazy good work for over the past year. They summarized very nicely Darren Dreger, who spoke out about the Canucks and who spoke out about the Red Wings as well, all from the TSN Insider Trading segment. So, let's dive into what Dreger had to say about these two teams, and then we'll dive into some other conversations too, starting with the Vancouver Canucks. Darren Dreger's notes go as follows. There is an ongoing evaluation process inside hockey ops, with Jim Rutherford clearly at the top of the Vancouver Canucks food chain. A week ago, the Canucks were less likely to consider a GM change. Dreger then suggests there may be a restructuring of hockey operations, and that includes Patrik Allvin. He's been told that it's 50-50. There's been speculation that the Nashville Predators asked to speak to Ryan Johnson, but the Canucks have denied this. Meanwhile, on coaching, Manny Malhotra is NHL ready, so there could be a coaching change in Vancouver. There's no decision made yet. They are continuing to evaluate. Now, that is as of yesterday. And I wanted to just kind of briefly highlight some of these points as well, because the entire narrative of Vancouver sticking with Allvin, sticking with Rutherford, promoting Ryan Johnson, doing whatever, there have been so many different insiders from the Vancouver beat locally, like Thomas Drance, and so many national insiders too, like the Elliot Friedmans or the Darren Dregers of the world, going out there and suggesting some of these various options that the Canucks could have. Take a look at what Satyar Shah said 2 days ago on Canucks Central on Sportsnet 650 Radio. He said there isn't going to be a regime change with the Vancouver Canucks. There may be a GM and an AGM change, but a new regime isn't coming in. Allvin might move to a different role instead of being fired if there is a GM change. And Thomas Drance spoke about this yesterday on Halford and Bruff as well, but the Vancouver Canucks really do value Patrik Allvin and the scouting knowledge that he provides for the Vancouver Canucks. Now, I'm not necessarily going to speak out about trades or whatever. Hey, look at that. It's our videos up here on Patrik Allvin's Google page. But Patrik Allvin actually does deserve some credit for the prospects that the Canucks have drafted over the past few years. They haven't had many draft picks, period, but the ones that they have had have looked pretty decent, all things considered. So hearing that internally the Canucks actually do value Patrik Allvin's draft pedigree, I'm honestly okay with that. I think that Allvin might be able to do some better work if he gets more draft picks. Like, the Canucks have traded them away all these years, and that's partially his fault, but when they actually do have the opportunity to use those picks, I'm on board with what Allvin has to sell. However, there are a number of folks that are kind of saying, wait a minute, we don't want the same people in charge. We don't want Rutherford and Allvin and Foote all coming back because the team has been abysmal. Sapster replied this, saying, Allvin will be moved to vice president of hockey ops, Cami Granato and Emily Castonguay will continue to be assistant GMs, and Ryan Johnson will be the GM who will hire a third AGM to take over his concurrent role as Vancouver GM and a Vancouver AGM. It's too easy to read. JT replied, "They change their damn plan every day. How they still have no idea what they're doing." And that makes sense considering the fact that a lot of Canucks insiders are saying that everything changes every day. Like, they don't know necessarily what's going to happen at this time. There are so many days left in the regular season, and then even more days in the playoffs and beyond before the draft. So we will wait and see what the Vancouver Canucks have in store. Whether Allvin moves up or gets fired, or Foote gets fired, or Ryan Johnson comes up, we'll have to wait. Meanwhile, there are some other conversations that we can have about the Detroit Red Wings, also brought up by Darren Dreger on the TSN Insider Trading program. Dreger says here, the Wings are desperate to make the playoffs. Which, I don't think any Red Wings fan is too surprised to hear about that. Steve Yzerman remains aligned with ownership. Any management change will be via Yzerman's choice. And the Red Wings are more likely to add than subtract. Now, you could also say that the Red Wings are in a pretty tough spot when it comes to Steve Yzerman specifically. There have been some rumblings, some hearsay around the NHL from people like 32 Thoughts Elliot Friedman, for example. He said this 2 weeks ago on the podcast. There's a conversation right now. Is Yzerman in trouble if the Wings don't make it? May I present an alternate theory? My alternate theory is Yzerman goes up to the president of Hockey Ops and they promote Chris Draper or Sean Horkoff to be the new GM. So similar workings to the Vancouver rumors that Patrik Allvin could get promoted to a vice president role with Rutherford as the regular president. Could we see some sort of a Stevie Y promotion and Draper and Horkoff move up as well? This other tweet, this is what Darren Dreger said on the Ray and Dreg show 2 days ago. I wonder about the men who appear to be ready for the next challenge. I think about Chris Draper with the Red Wings. It doesn't seem like Detroit is going to make some changes there. But is Drapes ready to be a GM? Probably. Probably? What in the world has Chris Draper done to be a GM? Okay, we're not gonna dive into the validity as to whether or not Chris Draper actually is ready at this stage. I mean, this reply says Draper as the GM would be the worst thing this franchise could do. How can a guy who has drafted some of the worst players in the tenure of amateur scouting director then get promoted to GM? No, it needs to be an outside hire. He is just an extension of the same bullcrap. So, I am assuming that the majority of the people replying to this tweet are Red Wings fans, with the exception of maybe Edna Garrett with the Maple Leafs jersey. But, it doesn't seem like Chris Draper and his reputation is going through a pretty good time at the moment. So, with that said, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about these Vancouver Canucks ideas? Dreger going out there and saying that it's 50-50 whether or not there can be a restructuring of the hockey ops department on this team. Ryan Johnson has been denied permission to speak with the Nashville Predators, so the Canucks probably have some bigger and better things planned out for him. What does this mean for the coaching staff? What does this mean for Jim Rutherford and his long-term future? Obviously, the guy is almost 80, so I don't think we can realistically say he plans to see through a 7-year rebuild with the Vancouver Canucks. And on the Red Wing side of things, what are your thoughts on Dreger's updates over here? More likely to add than subtract, and Yzerman might have the final say with everything. It doesn't seem like he is going to get fired, even though there have been some hearsay conversations about changes at the GM position in the Detroit Red Wings organization. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.